Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele. I hope everybody has had a fantastic day or is continuing to have a fantastic day. We have a lot of news to get to today. Couple things right off the top. Number one, it is Star Wars Celebration. So I'm either going to do another stream later on tonight because it is so big, or I am going to be doing a space, Twitter space. So, so right off the top, we have. Uh, I saw the Mario movie today. It was so awesome. I just bought tickets for it. Yeah, so I've been looking to. I've been. When I say busy, like I've been having other things to do, but I absolutely want to go see this. So trust me, it is not on the. It is on my mind. We have some huge news to get to. So about the Super Mario movie. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, and this is probably why it's going to have a huge weekend. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna either do, as I said, we're either gonna do a space on Twitter, and that's the Twitter handle if you want to jump into that, or later on tonight, I am going to do a whole stream dedicated to Star Wars Celebration because it was huge, just all the way around. One a little quick off the top, we did have a big trailer, a second trailer for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'll never get over that subtitle. Nonetheless, we did have. I love this trailer. Love this trailer, and it looks amazing, and it's going to be that. Um, Finally, before we get into all of the stories today, so what I've decided to do is I think one of the biggest movies of this upcoming summer is going to be Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and there's a story about that a little later on. But I thought what we do here on the channel, because I love them, I've seen all of them, but it's been a minute. So I thought what we do on the channel is do a rewatch. So what I'm going to do is we are going to do a maybe friends and myself or whatever. We're going to do a rewatch of all the Mission Impossibles leading up to Dead Reckoning in the middle of May. So every Friday in the start of June, okay. So there's 6 of them. So we're going to go 6 weeks back, and then what's going to end up happening is I'm going to put out a video like every Friday, okay. And so we're just going to go one by one by one by one. And then that's going to lead up to Dead Reckoning on the 19th. So a lot of good stuff. Anyways, speaking of Super Mario, that's a perfect segue to the first story. So this is bigger than I thought it was going to be. I got to be honest. I knew it was going to be big. I didn't think it was going to be this big. So this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. And this comes from the Hollywood Reporter, and this says this: Super Mario heading for a huge $195 million plus domestic 5-day opening. Illumination and Universal Nintendo video game adaptation, the Super Mario Brothers movie, grossed an estimated $59 million over the Friday box office, and now it appears to be heading to clear $195 million or more in its 5-day debut. Well ahead of expectations and at the start of the year. The bow would be a near record Easter holiday opening in record for Illumination. On Wednesday, Super Mario started off in North America with a huge $31.7 million opening and followed that up with another 26 on Thursday. Super Mario has every chance to becoming the first blockbuster of 2023, not only getting the PG rating, whipping up interest among families, it's appealing to the generation of adults who's growing up playing or still play Nintendo wildly popular Mario games, while critics are mixed on the movie and audience give it an 8 cinema score. The movie opened on Wednesday in order to take advantage of the spring holidays. It's also unfurling in 70 markets overseas. The animated comedic adventure follows Brooklyn plumbers and brothers Mario and Luigi as they are transported to the magical kingdom world and separated. So then it will. So the movie's cast also has Keegan Michael Key, Anna Taylor Joy, Jack Black, Seth Rogen, and a couple of other people. Now, actually, the guys that did the voices, the original voices of Mario and Luigi, actually have a cameo. So the film is directed by Aaron Horthman from a screenplay from Michael Fogler. It's co-financed by Universal and Illumination. So Easter's other big profit offering here is Air. So Air, and by the way, I saw this, and I actually want to do a spoiler cast on this because I had so much fun. Easter's other new high-profile offering is Ben Affleck's Air, which is having a harder time scoring shots. The biographical drama about the early game-changing days of Nike, when it was trying to sign a young Michael Jordan, grossed $2.5 million Thursday for a domestic total of $5.8 million. Like Super Mario opened on Wednesday and is anticipating a 5-day debut of $18.7 million, which would put it on the low end of expectations and number 3 behind Mario and John Wick number 4. Air is historic in that it's the first movie from Amazon Studios to receive an exclusive theatrical trailer in thousands of theaters around the world before streaming on Prime Video and yet to be announced. It boasts a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and it's received an A cinema score. Okay, so let's talk about this because there's another piece of the puzzle I want to get to about this. But this is the big one here. This is the big one in Super Mario. Wow. I did not think for a minute this was going to be $195 million. Not at all. I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't know it was going to be this super. That being said, this is unbelievable. Now, I want to put this in context for everybody too, because this is it's one of those things where you go, wow. So this goes to show you what kind of staying power this has, right? Not only is it generational, not only is it just amazing. So here, I want to put this in perspective for everybody because this is amazing. Okay, so this is 5 days we're talking about. If this scores a, let's say, hold on, excuse me, guys. There we go. So, as I was saying, if this scores $195 million, okay, this will be number 9 all time. This would be the 9th highest. Now, mind you, this is for 5 days, so you have to understand that. So that's something important to really understand. Okay, this opened Wednesday and Thursday. So yeah, I mean, if it opened on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it would probably be 100 million. It's still an incredible take home. I'm happy it's doing well. Now let's quickly talk about the difference here, because you have an audience score of 96%, okay, and you have the critics that don't like this. And I'm wondering, so there's a couple of things here I think that could really make this interesting. Number one, the age range, right? I mean, I don't know. They probably played Mario or they maybe had exposure to it. That's a possibility. But, number two, it could be the story. So anybody who's seen it, as Coco was alluding to earlier, knows of the story, and it's a very bland story. So that could be a big possibility. Like, this is, not the best story in the world, but it's very bright and it's very colorful. Um, so I don't know. I don't know why there would be such a low rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Nonetheless, though, it does have a 96% audience rating. And I think, that being said, the reason why this is going to make so much money is because this appeals to the 18 to 49 crowd, males and females, kids alike, because it is animated, okay? And it's one of those things where I think it's just fun. I mean, look at this picture here, and it tells you everything you need to know. It's colorful. It looks fun. It looks like Mario 3D, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I still want to see it. I'm absolutely looking to see this because I know this is going to be a good time. I just haven't gotten around to it. So it's one of those things where I can't wait to see this. But let's turn our attention to this other film, because I think this is the one that I said, and I was contending to people that it was going to have a much bigger opening than it has. Okay, and that's Air. Now, everybody, men and women, young and old, they know the name Michael Jordan. They know the name Michael Jordan. And this was a fantastic movie. It was well acted. The story was good. It was just overall, and even though you know the ending of it, you still are rooting for it to be a good movie, and it is. I loved it. There's not enough things I can say about this, and so I can't wait. I mean, I want to see it again in theaters. That's how much fun I had. I mean, I don't go to the theater, to see movies multiple times unless I really like it. So this is one of those I want to see. Now, this leads in to another part of the story about profits and everything else. So this comes from The Wrap and Scott Mendelson, and he was on the show about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. Fantastic guy, and he writes fantastic pieces for The Wrap. So if you guys ever want to go over there and read his stuff, he's really good. He also hosts a weekly Twitter space with Jeremy Fowler, which we're hoping to have on, right before blockbuster season for that. So I wanted to read some of his article as well, because it's really going to give an insight to the wealth of streaming and how that is done. So the piece is entitled Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's Air shares Amazon streaming wealth. So Air, which opened in wide theatrical release on Wednesday and stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Viola Davis, Chris Tucker, and Jason Bateman, details how a then underdog Nike bets on its footwear future on then rookie Michael Jordan. The film dramatized the boardroom pitches and frantic business calls into a tale of how capitalism was pretzeled into supplying fortune and glory to a member of a demographic rarely on the receiving end. So it makes sense that Skydance and Mandalay Bay's film, from his the first one produced from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's Artist Equity. One of the selling points of the venture is the promise of profit participation from both above the line stars and below the line. So above the line is like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. Below the line is all the technical stuff, the editing, the cinematography, the music, everything else. The Hollywood Titans dipped into their own fees, along with money saved during the production, via artist-driven efficiency to create a discretionary bonus system, Insides told The Wrap. Artist Equity is pitching the system as an old-school solution to a new streaming era problem. Box office-based bonuses are becoming outdated due to a challenging theatrical marketplace, while streaming viewership is clouded in mystery. Yet the changing economics around streaming and new thinking about the value of the theatrical releases are the very factor that has let Air and its unorthodox financial structure come to life. Now, I have to say one thing. This is a very long article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can go do that. Um, but I'll just read one other little snippet here, and I'll talk about it. Our goal with Artist Equity is to build a creator-focused studio that can optimize the production process with shared participation in the commercial success of projects, said Affleck in a statement last November as he announced the undertaking of the project. It's far from the only one in its kind. Angel Studios, for example, billed itself as a crowd-funded entertainment empire specializing in, but not exclusively releasing, faith-based theatrical and streaming content like Christmas with the Chosen and last week, His Only Son. CEO Neil Harmon said that, quote, when people are involved in the process of making the movie, our stakeholders, they can put more care into it. They're creating a production company where everyone can get a piece of the pie, end quote. I'm not going to read the whole thing, like I said, but I want to talk about it. This is important. Now you say, well, why do we have to have people that are having the, funding these things? Because it's important. Okay. When the fans have a say in what they're watching, they want to watch it. Okay. They want to come back and watch it more. That being said, now this movie had a $90 million budget, and that seems excessive. I know, but one of the things is the reason why it had such a big budget, it isn't the stars. I mean, it's not like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck took most of the money. They had this big budget so they could actually do this. So I have a viewer here. Alex, how's it going? I found myself checking my watch during the last 20 minutes of air, not because it was too long, but because I didn't want to end. Yes, I know, Alex. I'm right there with you. Because this is one of those movies, everybody knows how it ends. Okay? Everybody. But it's about the making of what happens and how they were able to sign him and everything else. And by the way, here's a little note, okay? 2 little notes about this. Number 1, this was on the blacklist of scripts. Now, blacklist. So these are scripts that are like great ideas that the studios don't want to pick up. So this screenwriter, who's 25 years old, actually he got the inspiration for this by watching the documentary The Last Dance, which, by the way, is a phenomenal documentary. But it was amazing. So what they ended up doing, okay, and what I was talking about with how they didn't take all that money, Affleck and Damon, what they did was they gave him full story credit, which meant he made more money on it. It was his first script. And that's amazing. So I totally agree with you, Alex. Unbelievable movie. I love it. The one thing I would have to say about this is there were about 6 or 7. When they're used well, Like Silver Linings Playbook, the end of that 360-degree shot was magnificent. The one detractor I'll say about this movie is this. They used about 6 or 7 360-degree shots. That's it. That's the only criticism I have. Otherwise, it was an amazing movie. I want to go back and see it again. I think it's amazing. And yeah, it's just all the way around. I hope I could see maybe a best screenplay coming from this. We'll see, though. What do you guys think? Have you seen Super Mario Brothers? Have you seen Air? Did you like them? Leave me your thoughts down in the comment section. I'll get back to everybody. Okay, so this next story is really fascinating. I was going through the stories today, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I saw this. And this has just blew my mind. So everybody knows that there was a big lawsuit, or not a big lawsuit, but a big to do about the Batgirl movie and how they canceled it. And it was in post, and Warner Brothers and Discovery had just had this merger, and it was they said why, and there was a lot of backlash. So this comes from Deadline, and this one is interesting because, and I'm going to read something that's a touch long, but you'll understand. It's so scathing, you have to listen to it. Lawmakers want DOJ, so the DOJ is the Department of Justice. So let me fill you in real quick. When there is a merger of proportions of these two things, right? The Department of Justice has to make sure there's not a monopoly. Okay, so they don't want to basically corner the market. So the DOJ will step in and say, yes, this is good, or no, we really can't do that. Okay, so that's the DOJ. Lawmakers want the DOJ to investigate Warner Brothers Discovery merger, claiming it harmed workers and reduced content choices. The site acts Batgirl in its letter. So this is fascinating. So here we go. Four Democratic lawmakers want the Department of Justice to investigate Warner Brothers Discovery, claiming that it merged companies has harmed workers and reduced consumer choices. Now, I did a story about, before I continue, I did a story about 2 or 3 days ago about how HBO had eliminated, or is going to eliminate, about 186 movies. Older movies, but still, So, yeah. So let's continue. 2 seconds. Okay, so let's continue. I'm sorry, guys. So Senator Elizabeth Warren, Republican Joaquin Castro, Republican David Cicierna, and Representative Pamela Japal, I'm sorry if I'm getting your names wrong, wrote in a letter to the Attorney General Merrick Garland and DOJ antitrust chief Jonathan Cantor that the merger, quote, appeared to have enabled, end quote, the company to, quote, adopt potential anti-competitive practices that reduce consumer choice and harm workers in affected labor markets, end quote. Warner Media and Discovery were combined last year in a transaction that was not challenged by the DOJ after review. The company has the incentive and ability to eliminate broad swaths of its workforce, leaving workers with fewer choices for employment and advances. Excuse me, guys. Where were we? Oh, lawmakers read their letter. They cited, so I want to read the letter, okay? Okay, so they cited the layoffs in the past year, including the shutdown of CNN as well. So I actually want to read the letter from the DOJ. This is the letter. This is the actual letter that these four representatives sent to the Attorney General. Because here's the thing. This is absolutely and totally scathing. Scathing. And it's necessary to hear this. So, they talk about, we want to follow up on the concerns we raised in our December 2021 letter regarding the proposed Warner Media Discovery transaction. We respectfully urge the Department of Justice to investigate the state of competition in affected labor and consumer markets following consumption of this merger, which appears to have enabled Warner Brothers Discovery, WBD, to adopt potentially anti-competitive practices that reduce consumer choice and harm workers in affected labor markets. We applaud the antitrust enforcement agency's efforts to modernize federal merger guidelines. We also appreciate the Department of Justice commitment to soliciting public input on these efforts. Through listening sessions, the department heard real-world concerns and stories from the public about the importance of meaningful antitrust enforcement to protect historically marginalized communities. As the department continues its laudable work to protect workers and consumers, we urge the department to closely examine consummated mergers that merit a subsequent review in light of post-consummation actions, such as those of WBD. Protecting competition for workers and consumers is the essence of antitrust law. An Assistant Attorney General Cantor recently noted, quote, antitrust laws apply to transactions that harm content creators and workers, end quote. We are concerned that the Warner Media Discovery merger has proven to be such a transaction. It has enabled the combined WBD to take aggressive measures harming workers and creatives in the media and entertainment industry, while eliminating the disciplinary forces of competition that provide workers with the freedom to change jobs and negotiate for better pay and working conditions. These are senators and representatives saying this. Following the merger, WBD announced numerous labor force reductions and product cancellations that would eliminate consumer and worker choice, canceling several titles, including Batgirl, which was deep in post-production, Gordita Chronicles, and The Time Traveler's Wife. However, these are not the only labor force reductions WBD leadership has made. Shortly after the merger was finalized, WBD realizing a number of cost synergies that were used to justify the merger in the first place, including cuts to hundreds of jobs for working people. First, WBD cut the streaming platform CNN Plus. Now, CNN Plus was they were trying to combine everything on one site and everything else, so they just got rid of it. The CNN Plus cut affected about 350 employees. And 4 months later, CNN laid off another 400 employees. As a part of a broader restructuring, WBD also cut federal funding for CNN programming, reducing competition for new and hurting the broad ecosystem of journalism. They're basically talking about that this merger is hurting how media and entertainment and journalism in general. Further cuts to CNN's planned original television series and entertainment business at the expense of the news and journalism. WBD also enacted 100 layoffs in its company ad sales department and another cost-cutting effort related to the merger. In total, the aforementioned cuts affected thousands of people. Notably, WBD has still $3.5 billion in planned cuts, which does not bode well for workers. I know this is long, guys, but this is necessary to hear. Just bear with me, please, because it gets even more scathing. WBD's aggressive measures post-merger indicate that its current competition in the media and entertainment industry is inadequate. The company has the incentive and ability to eliminate broad swaths of its workforce, leaving workers with fewer choices for employment and advancement. The department should investigate the competition consequences of this merger. The antitrust laws seek to promote consumer choice, product variety, and industry innovation. Accordingly, if the consummated merger results in a dramatic less available content and discourages innovation, the merger should be reassessed. So basically what they're saying is, if this isn't good for the workers as well as the company, what they're saying essentially is this was only good for the company. This was not good for the workers. WBD's new ownership is hollowing out an iconic American studio, David Zaslav. After the merger was consummated, WBD canceled many projects in various stages of development and was removed content from its platforms. For example, WB took 68 titles off of HBO Max. Some content removed from HBO Max is not available for streaming, renting, or buying on any other platforms, meaning consumers no longer have access to the content they expected to pay when paying for HBO Max. So essentially, a couple of the movies I was talking about the other day that were being removed from the channel, from the streaming service, were as recent as 2018, like Ready Player One, Creed 2, Creed, several other films, and those were only a few years old. And this is why I always stress physical media is so vitally important, because if you don't have access to this and you don't have it on a Blu-ray or a DVD, what are you paying for, really? And that's what they're talking about here. Moreover, audiences will never see projects like Batgirl, a $90 million film that was canceled while, quote, deep in post-production, end quote. Despite consumer outcry reportedly to allow WB to claim it as a tax break, one creator sold his show Whistleblower to HBO Max in February of 2021 after a, quote, competitive bidding process with multiple outlets, end quote. Shortly after the merger was consummated, WB canceled the development of the show. These three examples are merely a prelude of what could come as WB plans further cuts. The damage to content creators whose projects are canceled and deep in development and post-production cannot be overstated. Such cancellations stain these products, making them less appealing and marketable to other buyers. Consumers will likely never be able to watch shows purchased then canceled by WB. WB's conduct amounts to a de facto, quote, catch and kill, end quote, practice, vastly limiting consumer choice. In addition to reducing content available to consumers, WB is also combining HBO Max and Discovery into one streaming platform. Currently, the plan has the combined streaming service as to keep an ad-supported program or plan at $10 and an ad-free plan at $15 to $16 per month. However, WBD is offering a premium plan for consumers that will cost $20 a month for, quote, viewers who want to view HBO's signature shows in as high quality as possible, end quote. This leaves so that's like a 4K, okay? Or I don't even know if they would have it, but 8K, but more likely 4K. This leaves questions unanswered about whether a lower price platform will reduce quality from the current product, while consumers are paying the same price and the lack of transparency needed to fully evaluate the plans and their relative prices. With fewer alternatives available to consumers, there is less competitive pressure on WB to innovate or provide a variety of quality products. We respectfully request that the department take another look at the transaction, considering WB's post-transaction conduct. We also hope that competitive consequences resulting from the Warner Media Discovery merger inform updates to the merger guidelines to ensure that the guidelines reflect the needs of the workers, consumers, and content creators in the media and entertainment industry. Thank you for your consideration. We appreciate the work you do to safeguard the American markets and protect our workers and consumers. Now, guys, I know that was long. Okay. So, and thank you for bearing with me, because I think it was so incredibly important that needed to get read. Because a lot of times, you'll see a link in an article like this, and you'll go, "Oh, okay, just do that." But you have to really read exactly what they're doing. And look, they're right. They're absolutely spot on this. And the fact that WBD, okay, Warner Brothers Discovery is doing this is tragic, and is just what they're doing. And what the letter said was, it was A, harming journalism as we know it, B, taking off content, okay, where if you can't get it anywhere else, what are you paying for? and C only out for themselves. Okay? In the simple respect that it's harming not only the consumer, but the workers. And that's where the thing has to come in. I am not shocked about this. I was shocked at the number of titles they took off of this. But boy, oh boy, they're in deep trouble. They are in deep, deep trouble. And it's going to be fascinating to see what David Zaslav's next move is going to be. Because he has to have some sort of rebuttal. You know it. Okay? You know it. And I'm really wondering, could the SEC and DOJ get together and do something about this? That would be fascinating. Because HBO Max, really, I mean, that's next to Netflix. HBO Max is like the premium streaming outlet right now. I mean, think about it. They have House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, The Last of Us, Succession. They've got a ton of stuff. Boy, they're in a mess. They are an absolute mess right now. Now you say, well, why is that important for me? Because my guess is everybody who's watching this stream has one or more streaming services. And my guess is that you have HBO Max and you're paying for HBO Max. And if that's the case, what do you guys think about this? Thank you for bearing with me, like I said about this, but what do you guys think about this? Do you think that Warner Brothers Discovery is in peril of actually getting broken up? Do you think the Department of Justice is actually going to do something? Or do you think they're going to say you need to change your ways and we'll be putting a microscope on you? And here's what Alex says. 100% I have HBO Max and 6 other streamers. Yeah, Alex. So, I mean, look, The Last of Us was one of the highest rated streaming shows on that platform. And, as in second to House of the Dragon. So I'm really fascinated to see what their response is going to be. And I'll be curious to see if David Zaslav doesn't say something himself. Because that's what everybody's looking for. And my last question to you guys is, do you think they could make WB actually turn around and do you think we're going to get some release of the Batgirl in some form? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to everybody. Okay, so speaking of DC and speaking of all of that good stuff, there was a article that was put out by Variety, and we could possibly down the road have a crossover. Now, you go, what? Huh? Yeah. This now, mind you, this isn't going to happen overnight, okay? And it's going to take some time. But there is a possibility that somewhere down the road, we may have a Marvel DC crossover. So this comes from Variety. And this was, James Gunn said it would be, quote, many years away, but all talks have been light and fun. Well, will the Marvel Cinematic Universe and DC Universe ever have a crossover now that Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy director James Gunn is in charge of Marvel Studios? I'm certain that that's more likely than now that I'm in charge. Gunn recently played Empire. Who knows? That's many years away, though, he added. I think we have to establish what we're doing here at DC first. I would be lying to you to say that we haven't discussed it, but all discussions have been very, very light and fun. Gunn is starting the process of the press rounds in support of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which marks his final directorial debut for Marvel. He also has one other DC movie under his belt, and that was the 2021 Suicide Squad. But Gunn is now leading DC Studios with Peter Safran and has crafted a new DC universe that will kick off with 2025's Superman Legacy, which Gunn is writing and directing. It's not like Superman is exactly going to have the same vibe as a Guardians movie, Gunn recently told Rolling Stone magazine. It's actually quite different. Gunn has been quite open about Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige supporting his transition to leading DC Studios. As co-head of the studio, Gunn is planning a new DC universe that is to be told across movies, television shows, and video games. The first slate of Gunn's new DC universe includes Superman Legacy, Supergirl World of Tomorrow, and The Bold and the Brave, the latter of which is a Batman and Robin movie. I think there is such a thing as superhero fatigue, Gunn told Rolling Stone. I think that it doesn't have anything to do with superheroes. It has to do with the kind of stories that get to be told. And if you lose your eye on the ball with which character, we all love Superman, we all love Batman, we all love Iron Man, because these are incredible characters that we have in our hearts. And if it becomes just a bunch of nonsense on the screen, it gets really boring. I get fatigued by most spectacle films, by the grind of not having an emotionally grounded story, Gunn added. It doesn't have to have anything to do with whether they're superhero movies or not. If you don't have a story at the base of it, just watching things bash each other, no matter how clever these bashing moments are, no matter how clever the designs are or the visual effects, it just gets fatiguing. And I think that's very, very real. So let's talk about this because there's some big, big stuff. So Alex, I think crossover is possible down the road if the current downward trend of comic book box office movies return continues. I think they'd have to be desperate. Yeah, I mean, I think there is such a. I mean, Gunn is right about one thing, Alex, and that is there is superhero fatigue. So that being said, I don't know, but we wouldn't have to really worry about that right now. He asks, "Can I ask you what is your favorite comic book superhero?" I always read a lot of the Spider-Man comic books growing up, like Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. I would probably, believe it or not, I would probably say Spider-Man. I always liked him. I think that his iteration is always it was really good, and that's what made these last couple of films really good, like the John Watts movies, because we all know how what Spider-Man was, how he became Spider-Man, right? We all know that his uncle died, and we all know that Aunt May was really his caregiver. But they never said that. They never told that. And that was really, we saw Peter grow up before our eyes type of thing. And it was for the Sam Raimi ones, it was really good. It was really good. And as it's just gotten better and better. And Gunn is right about one more thing, and that's the story. I'm a big, 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 big proponent about story. You have to have a great story in order to tell these. Because nobody just wants to see, as Gunn put it, these things just bash each other, So I think, I think once you have the story down, everything else is icing. This, however, this could be very, very fun. I think, believe it or not, I think the earliest you would probably see something like this, 2030, 2031. I mean, I think once the phases, I guarantee you one thing, you're going to see Easter eggs in Superman Legacy from Marvel. Mark my words, Because here's the thing. If they're talking about doing this down the road, they want to set it up now. And the fact that Kevin and Kevin Feige and James Gunn are very good friends, you know that they're talking. You know that there are ideas swirling around. And with James writing this first project, you know that he's like going to be like, okay, Kevin, I'm going to do a couple things, and then we'll play off. And I'm like, okay. So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked in a couple years, guys, when you're watching Superman Legacy, if you see, some little Marvel Easter egg, because that will be there. I remember watching Man of Steel in the theaters for the very first time. And of course, the couple of Easter eggs I saw were the LexCorp satellite, and there was a truck that had something. I think it was something else. And I said, okay, those are Easter eggs. They're planning on something down the line. Don't be shocked, guys. Don't be shocked. I would, to your point though, I would, for one, I would love to see. Yeah, I would too. I really, really would, because I think that the thing is that just the thought of it, right? Like, take the biggest, baddest superhero on DC against the biggest and baddest super. Can you imagine Iron Man going up against Superman? I mean, that would be. That's every. Excuse the phrase. That's every nerd's dream. Okay, every superhero comic, that's everybody's dream, because it's one of those, But no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'd love to see it, and you have two guys behind the helm that could do it. I think that would be amazing. Anyways, guys, what do you think? Do you think we're ever going to get a crossover between Marvel and DC? Who are your favorite superheroes? If so, if we are going to get a crossover, what is your dream matchup? What is your DC matchup, and who are you picking for Marvel? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Okay, so we have one last story for the day, and it's not the sexiest story in the world in Hollywood, but it is a story. So we have the Oscars every year, okay? And there are, I want to say, 24, 25 categories, very close to it, that are given awards. And there's always one category that does not get an award. And it is one of the most important jobs. And that's stunt work. And so they say, well, why don't they have an Academy Award for stunts? So it's one of those things, and it's a good question, right? Because you'd have to take it from all of the, it would only be there's so many different criteria here that it would be difficult to do. So here is the story from, once again, Scott, who's a fabulous writer, and you can actually follow him on Twitter as well. Says John Wick and Fast 10 and other action-packed movies coming out this year make a compelling case, but it may come down what makes good Oscar television. The Oscar connection for the commercial side of Hollywood has been very tenuous, with blockbusters rarely lining up with the Best Picture nominees. But there's a growing unrest among a crucial segment of movie production professionals over the lack of an award for what they consider to be the most valuable contributions to the art and business of cinema. I don't think there is a single good argument against stunt professionals at the Oscars, director Chad Kaczynski told The Wrap. His action-packed John Wick 4 has topped $270 million worldwide at the box office to become Hollywood's biggest rated R grossing film since Sony's pandemic Bad Boys for Life. Even lights and camera get a nod from the Academy. So where's the award for action? That's the question the people behind the stunts that packed theaters are increasingly asking. If there's a year to institute the Best Action Award, okay, in 2023, this might be it. Besides John Wick 4, there's Paramount's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Universal's Fast 10, and Disney's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. For an industry that is commercially kept alive by stunt-heavy action films, proponents of a Best Action Award feels like these movies will make their work increasingly hard to ignore. You almost can't believe it doesn't exist, the screenwriter told the Wrap. It's a no-brainer. So it basically goes on and talks about what the Academy would have to do. Okay, the motion picture, the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts and Sciences recently established a new production and technology branch, which grants membership to a broad category of stunt-related roles, including stunt coordinators, movement directors, and head of visual effects production. These workers previously belonged to the Academy as members at large. The new branch elects only one governor to the Academy Board, while the other 17 branches elect 3 governors, which doesn't suggest its view as equal status. The Academy Board of Directors meets at the end of April to announce its annual review of Oscar rules. Barring that, in the last shot of inclusion in the 96 Academy Awards would be in August, when a newly elected board, which would include the branch's single governor, meet. That means a narrow window for the stunt lobbies to make its case. Okay, so basically it's interesting because you have these 4 guys, okay? Tom Cruise has been an action star for 40 years. We know that. John Wick. Keanu Reeves is an action star, okay? He just is. I mean, you just look at 93 for Speed in 1993. That's where he really started it, okay? Vin Diesel, this is what he's been doing for 25 years too. Harrison Ford, he's been playing Indiana Jones and, not in Han Solo. But Tom Cruise, and I've said this, Tom Cruise is about the only star, and the piece goes on to talk about the insurance and everything else. Tom Cruise is about the only star that can really do, with Keanu basically being the new one, that could do his own stunts. And he's been doing these stunts for years and years and years. This is the shot, one of the shots from Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Now, this is a shot, a still from the behind the scenes. And I want to show you a couple of different ones because this is incredible. And I've seen the trailer like 6 times, and every time it gets to this shot, I'm just amazed. Thoroughly amazed. Okay? This is that shot. Okay? So he's about to go, and he jumps off the bike, right? This just shows you what kind of height in everything else it is. I've always said this. Tom Cruise is a national treasure and needs to be really cherished because we have 2 more movies with him. Okay. And by the way, this is why Paramount put out that 9 minutes, behind the scenes footage of what he does. And I urge you guys, if you haven't seen it, go Google it. Go on YouTube and watch it because it's incredible. But that being said, he's done everything. He's done everything. He has flown planes. He has flown helicopters, motorcycles, as pictured. Okay. I mean, I was a kid. He's going to die on set. Okay? He's going to die on set. I mean, when he broke his ankle, when he was filming Fallout, okay, and that scene where he's jumping from one building to the other, he broke his ankle and finished the take. And that's why they had to shut down production for 6 weeks. And telling you, as soon as these Mission Impossible films are done, we're all going to look back and go, oh my God, what did we miss out on? Because we're so used to him doing things, whether it's climbing the tallest building in the world, whether it's hanging on the side of a plane, whatever it is. jumping off a cliff. But the biggest thing about Tom Cruise is this, and I've always contended this: he does everything practically, and he loves movies. He loves movies. It's that simple. Sure, they could do it with CGI, but he wants to do it practical. Not because it's more dangerous, although he's an adrenaline junkie. Okay, I mean, it took a year for him to be able to train for that halo jump, high altitude, low oxygen for Fallout. But nonetheless, he loves cinema. He loves films. Like, even he said he could have easily put out Top Gun Maverick, but he knew what he had. So that's why they didn't do it. I think there needs to be, getting back to the whole premise, that I would contend, if it's not this year, if it's not next year, it's going to be probably the year after that, because they're going to be trying to push this through, and we're going to be seeing this in the next couple of years. Mark my words. I think there needs to be one. I don't know the logistics of it. I don't know how you would do it. And how would, so when it comes to Oscars, all of the particular people in that subsection, okay, in that category, vote on it. I don't know how you'd vote on it. I mean, is it the number of people in there? Do you do it as a group? I don't know. It would be very difficult to do. But I'm sure once they work it out, it would be fun. It'd be interesting. But anyways, guys, what do you guys think? Should there be an Academy Award for stunt people? If so, how many nominees do you think there should be? Also, do you think it should be the stars that get it? Or do you think it should be the movie? Or do you think it should be the actual people? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm really fascinated to hear what you got to say. And before we go, Alex had wrote a comment in I wanted to get to. He said, Batman is my number. This is talking about the DC versus Marvel story. Batman is my number one because he has no superpowers and he's vulnerable. Makes for more interesting stories. Would love to see him take on anybody in the MCU. Yeah. It goes back to that scene in Justice League when he's trying to recruit the Flash, which, by the way, we'll be doing a spoiler cast for as well. But nonetheless, Ezra, Barry asks him, so what's your superpower? He says, I'm rich. So people love to hate on Tom Cruise, because they see him as strange, but he's a national treasure. The man gives us everything. Yeah, he does. You're absolutely right, Alex. You're absolutely right. And he is a professional's professional. He doesn't care about critics. He doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about awards. He wants to make the best film possible. All you got to do is take a look at this. When you see something like that, that is one person. Now, obviously, he's on drawstring, so it will pull him back. But that's real. That's not CGI, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, take a look at this. They built all this to the specs. And then you just see him lift off. You go, what? And by the way, that's a drone up there. So our technology is advanced more. It's unbelievable. No, I totally agree with you. And he's one of the best actors. He is one of our last movie stars that we have. Really. That you could put Tom Cruise at the headline. Doesn't matter what it is. And mark my words, people will be in the seats. So, also, I think it should go to a stunt team. This is referring to the piece we just did. I think it should go to a stunt team, including the actor, if he performs some of his stunts. We see many awards go to multiple people. I would like to see that for stunt teams of 2 to 3 people. Yeah. It will be interesting to see how they put it together. I think that because it's one of those things where, because don't forget you have to be an Academy member, okay? And usually you are if you're doing stunt work and everything else. I don't know though. I'd be very interested to see. I mean, I think it has to be a collaborative effort, though. I think so. I think it has to be the stunt coordinator, okay? I think it has to be the stunt people, stunt men or stunt women, and then I think you know you have to have some sort of criteria in order to do it. Maybe the stunt has to be 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes. And you say, well, stunts 2.5 minutes. Well, look at it like this. In TRT, I'm not talking about actual because the stunt's only instantaneous, right? Usually. So there's a lot of logistics to work out. I could see this coming though in the next couple of years. And don't be shocked either because of Tom Cruise. Don't be shocked if he actually comes out and really tries to push this through. Because I could see that. I think Keanu Reeves. If you have A-list guys like Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves come out, I think that would really sway a lot of people. But I totally agree with you, Alex. I totally agree with you. And forget about length. Forget about length of the show and everything else. I think people want to get recognized. Look, if you're going to hand somebody an Oscar for, I don't know, editing, okay, there needs to be something for stunt work. There just has to be. There has to be. So I don't know. We'll see about that. Speaking of Mission Impossible, though, I've decided, like I said at the top of the show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing a Mission Impossible rewatch, and I think that what will end up happening is we're going to be putting out we're going to be doing one a week, okay, and so the first one is going to be put out June 2nd, okay, and then we're going to do one the 9th and the 16th and 23rd and 30th, and it's all going to lead up to Dead Reckoning. So there are 6 movies. So as it stands right now, the tentative schedule is to have Mission Impossible, that video for you, released June 2nd. Mission Impossible 2, and by the way, when all that, Mission Impossible 2, June 9th, Mission Impossible 3, the 16th, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, the 23rd, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, the 30th, and then Mission Impossible Fallout, the 7th. And that will lead right up to Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I mean, I haven't seen some of these in years, so it'll be a good refresher, but I can't wait for this movie. I'm just like millions of other people. I have a theory. As we close this down today, I want to give you this theory because we haven't seen any other publicity except one trailer that was about 7 months ago and one poster. That's it. I think, and I have no confirmation of this, total rumor on my, speculation on my part. I think what you're going to see, because Barbie just released another trailer the other day. Indiana Jones just released another trailer today. Okay. I think what you're going to see, Mission Impossible. I know it's quick. Okay. But I think you're going to see them either have the first act or maybe even the whole movie at CinemaCon. Just because the Flash is going to be there, and I think they want to have something ready to go. Now they're going to, Paramount's definitely going to have something for Mission Impossible. But I wouldn't be shocked if they had the whole movie, and that would be incredible. Because if they could show the whole movie to all those people out there that are actually going to be putting it in their theaters, look out. Look, they've done it before. They showed Ghostbusters Afterlife. They showed Top Gun Maverick. They're going to show The Flash this year. I wouldn't be shocked. because it is the final one. I mean, it's part one of the final one, but you get the idea. Who knows? I think they'll do it though. I could be totally wrong. And I mean, I kind of dialed it back a little bit. I thought it had a chance to make $200 million opening weekend. Yeah, if it doesn't make 200, it's going to make around 150 to 180. It's going to get damn close. So we'll see. But we have a huge summer coming up for you guys. You know, this was just the start of it. So yeah, and this is just the start of it. And then, I'm going to be doing spoiler cast for all of these big movies, as I've said over and over. And it's going to be a huge summer, guys. So anybody that's popped in here or has come back in and, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to be having a ton of content. I just uploaded April's perfect movie, and that was The Social Network, directed by David Fincher, Jesse Eisenberg, Andrew Garfield, Justin Timberlake. Amazing. So go check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, that's it. So that's it for today's show, guys. Thank you very much for being here. And I will probably it's about 5:30 right now here in Los Angeles. I'm going to try and get some of these stories up. So in the meantime, I think what I'm going to do is, if you want to come join me on Twitter, we'll do a whole Star Wars celebration space. And that way, because there's a ton of stuff to talk about. So I really want to get everybody's thoughts on that. So that is my Twitter handle. Just, by the way, I should make mention of one last thing. I know I keep saying one last thing. My Patreon. It is up and running. If you go to you can either go to patreon.com and do it that way, or you can actually find the little thing in the Twitter profile, and that'll get you right there. And it's really cheap, and you can check that out there. Okay, that was it, guys. We're done. So do the 3 things you've got to do. Be safe, be careful, and have a great rest of your day. I'm David Steele, and you have been watching Mill Talks. Bye-bye.